Hello and welcome to Might Be Awesome. My name is Sam Basher.
I'm DJ Wooldridge.
And today we're going to be doing our deep dive, spoiler-free review of Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Before we do that, make sure you go ahead and click right up here to go check out our deep dive into what it would be like to live with a Pokemon. It's a really fun video. We talked about a bunch of them. A lot of them that turn out to be bad, but some of them are actually pretty good. But hey, today we're going to be talking about Detective Pikachu specifically. Now, this movie is directed by Rob Letterman. Screenplay credits go to Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit, and Rob Letterman, and Derek Connolly. And the story is by Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit, and Nicole Perlman. And of course, this movie stars Ryan Reynolds, Justice Smith, Kathryn Newton, Bill Nighy, and Ken Watanabe. And your quickie synopsis, as IMDb puts it, in a world where people collect Pokemon to do battle, a boy comes across an intelligent, talking Pikachu who seeks to be a detective. Now, this movie's hitting theaters May 10th, early for some people on May 9th, but we were able to see this early.
Yeah, I would like to point out that according to the Pikachu in question, he is already a detective.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's not trying to
licensed.
do this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's got the hat and everything.
No spoilers here. He's got a hat. Mm-hmm. Clearly. Have you seen a poster?
I was surprised by how much of the movie dealt with him getting his license. It's a full 20 minutes of the film.
A lot of tests. Now, currently, this movie is sitting at, when we pulled this asset, it was at a 68%.
Yeah.
When I just checked, it was at a 69%. God bless.
Yeah.
But the consensus is 6.2 out of 10. That's sitting at a solid D for our American graders.
What do you need to be fresh? What number do you need to be at? 75?
I'd say
or above?
No. See, I don't think 75 is. I think it's in the.
Well, because I saw Captain Marvel was 70-something, and it was certified fresh.
But it was higher, and then it started to trend down.
Gotcha.
I think you have to be in the 80s. Now, see, this is the part we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
But
we don't know Rotten Tomatoes algorithm, all right?
It ain't rotten.
Yeah.
It ain't spoiled.
Yeah.
But it seems to be kind of more divisive for some people. Not that divisive, though.
Yeah.
I think overall people are having a good time with this movie. But this is our spoiler-free thoughts, feelings, and review of this movie. I'm very excited. Now, DJ.
So you won't find out which Avenger died in this movie, all right?
Until the end. Pikachu. He comes in at the end. Spoilers. All right. So let's go ahead and hop into our spoiler-free thoughts.
Yes.
Just winding the clock back a little bit. When you first heard this movie was getting made, were you worried?
Yeah, 100%, because it's a video game movie, and those are always rough at best. They're mixed at best, I should say, but rough more often than not. And also Detective Pikachu, like, of all the Pokemon spin-offs and bringing it, like, what? But this was a nice little, it's a nice little in on the world. Like, it feels like a test run on doing a full live-action Pokemon movie that deals with the more traditional battles and badges. And if you think about it, that's a lot to unpack in a movie. This one don't have to deal with any of that. All you have to deal with is world where people live with these animals called Pokemon, and often they're almost like familiars in other genre fiction where it's like every person gets a Pokemon. That's the rule.
Here's a movie that I vaguely remember in the back of my brain, Golden Compass.
Yeah,
I know those are very popular novels, but it's the same thing where they have magical animal familiars that are like their soul incarnate. This is not what this is, but similar.
But similar in that, like, every person gets a Pokemon.
Or if you're a normal person, you should have a Pokemon.
What are you talking about? Yeah. So and then you deal with that world, and so it's a nice into that world. And as somebody that's enjoyed these games since I was a young boy, it felt like a cool interpretation of that world.
Yeah. So I got some heavy thoughts about this movie, so bear with me as I work through it. Gang, we have a teleprompter, so we're going to work our way through it. Here it goes. I honestly think that this movie is a perfect love letter for fans of Pokemon, and I mean that like fully encapsulating all Pokemon fans, whether you watch the TV show or you played the video games. Most of us played the video games. Or if you read the manga, or if you had played the card game or just collected the cards. The production team didn't just take Pokemon and use them as ornaments to make a movie that's pretty standard. Like, this movie, to be fair, is pretty standard, but this is a fully realized and lived in world, which feels so special, because it's not that, like, all of a sudden you see, like, a Pidgey fly by or something. It's like, no. In every nook and cranny, you will find a fun little Easter egg, and you don't even have to know all the Pokemon. I don't think I've played a Pokemon game like properly in like 10 years, honestly. So like, there's a couple Pokemon I don't recognize, but that doesn't matter because this world feels magical. And also, I think while it would be fun to get a live action CGI full Pokemon movie that is more faithful to the previous movies that we've seen, by introducing regular audiences to characters that are naturally inquisitive, or they're detectives, and they're curious and they want to investigate every aspect of this world, we're able to find out how certain things function, and it makes it feel more fun when you're able to realize certain things about how the world works, especially when it comes to like Pokemon battles or catching Pokemon or how they act as familiars.
It's also a good way to use Pokemon that you wouldn't like. I don't know if anybody's stoked to see Mr. Mime in like a Pokemon battle.
You get it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like using him in this way, I think this movie is at its best when it kind of takes mystery movie tropes and interprets them into this world.
Yes,
and that's a good opportunity to use Pokemon that normally don't, at least for me, like don't move the needle at all. Like Mr. Mime has one of my favorite scenes in this movie.
It's so creative how everyone is utilized, but also just I need to say it up top. Ryan Reynolds kills it in this movie.
Yeah.
He shines.
Yeah.
Honestly, Detective Pikachu is such a fun character, and I know what a lot of people thought when they saw this trailer. They're like, "That's Deadpool's jokes. That's his shtick." But you shoved it into a stuffed animal, and yes, but at the same time,
But it works.
But it works, and so that you can't really knock it. But
Yeah.
also, when it comes to emotional beats in this movie, which this film has, which is shocking, honestly, you're able to like fully connect with Tim Goodman, who is played by Justice Smith, our main human in this movie, and with Pikachu, and just the world that we're experiencing. And you have to give that to Ryan Reynolds and the team, the directors and the writers and everything. But Ryan really sells it, and also just props to the CGI team because these Pokemon are awesome. It is so cool how they're able to realize some of them. Like Charizard's a big one they're able to see. Pikachu is just adorable. It's a good mix of like everyone loves Chunky Pikachu. Chunky Pikachu is great, but also he's like a little bit slimmer. But I mean, he's just so freaking adorable.
Well,
Apom, absolutely frightening.
The one thing they needed to nail, was the interpretation of the Pokemon. Like we see with the reaction to the Sonic trailer, like it's important that you get that title character right. And in this case, it's not just Pikachu. It's those. I think you said there was 60 different Pokemon in this.
They said roughly. The director Rob Letterman mentioned that there were 60 plus Pokemon.
Yeah, and so you've got to get those right, and they do a good job of interpreting. And they're not exactly like real. They're realistic interpretations of what we know of them from the games and the anime. And it makes, and they do a good job of like, there's even a joke about like all Pokemon are cute, but also interpretations of them like Apom, where it's like, there's a way of looking at this Pokemon where it's kind of a waking nightmare, and they get that. And there's other Pokemon that are just like Ludicolo's in this movie. And he has my favorite bit just by existing. He's
not really doing anything.
No, he's just in the scene, and that got the biggest laugh out of me, just him being around.
I think he's just meandering around in the background.
And it got the biggest laugh out of me. It was so funny.
And not just Pokemon fans, Nintendo fans.
Yeah.
Keep your eye out through the entire movie because there's a lot of fun Easter eggs for consoles and other properties that they have. It is such a relief to say that this is it's actually not a relief, but also it's just kind of, it makes me feel good to say that this is the best video game movie I've ever seen. That doesn't mean it couldn't be better after this. I just think that this is the best we've got.
Yeah, because I think I turned to you after we watched the movie. I was like, wait, is this actually the best video game movie? And I actually like to know in the comments what your favorite video game movies are. On our podcast, Only Stupid Answers, we're gonna it'll come out next Monday. We'll be talking about spoiler discussion about this, but we like to read your comments on that show, be a little bit more interactive, and I'd like to know what your favorite video game movies are because they're traditionally really bad. And I think, and this is pretty good.
No, it is. It's pretty good, honestly. Like we'll get to our rating in just a second, but I think just kind of harkening back for a second, I think the idea of having two characters that are actively exploring the world and making the world feel inviting, and it doesn't make you feel bad. It actually makes you want to be part of it.
Yeah,
it's a really good mechanism to just include everyone, and there's a lot there for fans, and hopefully there's enough. Because being completely candid, we both are fans of Pokemon, but like I hope that there's enough there for people who are not fans. Now, to get to my quick criticisms, because we'll boil all of our points down in a second, but I just want to say that when it comes to the main plot of this movie and the mystery behind it, because since he's a detective and he is trying to figure out what happened to Harry Goodman, Tim's father, that's when the movie starts to kind of collapse a little bit. It halts to try to explain and try to trick you, and it's trying to keep you on your toes throughout a lot of the back half of the movie, and I don't know that it needed to. I know when you think detective movie, it's got to be twists and turns. Sometimes you have to have your detective make accusations that aren't true, and then backpedal and you find out what the real threat is. But overall, you're like, wait, we've had like 6 twists. I'm exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah.
Only a little bit though. And you're like, why are we doing this? And I also understand why you might want to separate your main characters or have them at odds at some point. And you're like, why though? And also there's a lot of like connective sci-fi stuff where you're like, I don't know if
there also is a
point
sense at the ending that is straight. I'm just gonna say anime crap. Like straight, like somebody's talking. I'm like, I don't even. At this point, words have no meaning. Like I don't know what's happening anymore. And it's fine. It's completely fine. This movie is definitely targeted toward younger audiences, and it's not like a Pixar or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, or even with this movie shares a lot of similarities with Zootopia, where
plot.
like the whole plot basically. But it where it kind of like treats their audience is like candy. This one definitely talks down to its audience a little bit. I would say that's a negative. And calling it a mystery or detective, it's more like delayed exposition. It's like our characters don't really, they're just kind of like milling around until somebody shows up with a hologram. They're like, hey, here's what happened. You know what I mean?
That is impressive technology.
Hologram technology is never not impressive in movies like this.
In a world of Pokemon, that is impressive, genuinely.
But I want to say because you touched on this earlier. The world, specifically Ryme City, I think was a huge plus for me. Especially these movies targeted to younger audiences. If you can get me invested in the world, like we talked about, Zootopia looked amazing. Moana's another example where it's like I just want to be there. I want to live in Ryme City. You could make a dozen movies just in Ryme City, and I would be invested in them and interested in all the corners and aspects of them. They've got underground Pokemon battles, stuff like that. Like, it's just an interesting world to the point you talked about the movie kind of grinding to a halt, that when they left Ryme City, it immediately became less interesting because that aspect, even just normal conversational shots or whatever, there'd be a little something skittering in the corner that just help it flesh out the world, make it feel more believable, and made me feel like that's the stuff that sold me on the idea of a live-action Pokemon film.
It's really bold to make an entirely original story entirely original. I know this is based off of a Detective Pikachu game, but overall, this is an original story that they're telling, and it is, I'll say, ballsy when it comes to creating a world like Ryme City, but overall, it works very well, and I would love to revisit it, but boiling it down, we like to kind of break everything down into positives and negatives, and for us, positive for me is just Ryan Reynolds. Great casting. We all wanted Danny DeVito. I get it. And honestly, it still could work if you figure out if you got him to sit down in a VO booth and just do some lines over. But Ryan genuinely sells it, and it gives me some hearty laughs. Hearty laughs. His introduction with Tim is, I was cackling. Like a witch. And I was having
he was distracting the entire audience with his witch laugh.
I was having just such a good time, and overall this movie is just so pleasant.
And we talked about Ryme City. I think was fantastic, and again, please make more movies here. I am kind of surprised to say, like, I want more Pokemon movies. I'm happy to say that. Like, I want more movies set in this world. I want more movies in this city, do spin-offs that deal with the badges and the league and all that stuff. But like, you sold me on it. You have the technology. You can do more.
Oh yeah.
And like you mentioned, this might be the best video game movie.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of proud of this movie for being that. Like you had high expectations for a lot of other movies. Like I'll say the most recent Tomb Raider movie wasn't really for me. And I know there was plenty of criticism it received. But overall, this movie, it just makes me happy because it always shocks me how much I am invested in Pokemon. Like even when there's a new announcement, especially with like the new games coming out with Sword and Shield and the Galar region and Galar. Galar. There you go. Oh, it was so good. You guys are gonna tear me apart for that one. Anyways, I'm excited and I appreciate it. But when it comes to negatives, I'd say that the plot is convoluted, and it honestly, like I saw that criticism going into it, and I was like halfway through, and I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And then you can feel when the movie hits halfway, and you're like, oh my god, oh why, what's happening? And then by the end, it kind of explains everything. I'll say that. It
definitely explains it.
It explains
whether it makes any sense or not. Your mileage may vary. I've also got to say that like it stumbles into like typical mid-tier kid movie stuff. Like I had to look up Lucy's character, the main female protagonist, is definitely, if you've seen one of these movies, there's definitely a character that is the girl, and she plays the girl, and that's nothing on the actress. It's just she's the girl.
She's written,
yeah. So it's like you want a movie like that to do better in those areas. Shout out to Bill Nighy. He's in this movie.
Yeah, he is. Buckle up.
Yeah.
Because his familiar is just
interesting.
Best.
Let's say, yeah, it's
best.
pretty great. And Ken Watanabe, it lends a lot of gravitas to his scenes as well.
He is paired up with a Pokemon.
I like that, and I like that this movie didn't just like let's stick to the 150 that general audiences know. They pull from the breadth and width of the franchise. And shout out to Mewtwo. Woo! Mewtwo's utilized really well in this movie.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy powerful. Yeah. Like if you remember the first movie from when we were kids, the Pokemon movie.
The Pokemon movie, which I've got mad nostalgia for.
Oh, yeah, I have the VHS still. It is
100%. I do too.
How scary he was in that, you get those same kind of feels in your jellies in this one. But overall, the mystery kind of would have solved itself if anyone stumbled into this. But hey, that being said, out of the 60 Pokemon that we have heard are on screen in this film, what would you give it out of 60?
Out of 60. I would give it a 45. What's a B minus?
Oh, there you go.
45.
You can't. You always ask me. The math is.
Doesn't sound right. You know what? I think maybe a 48 is more accurate. I would give it a B minus. I think this is a genuinely sturdy platform to build a branching franchise off of that I would be very interested in. If you're a fan of these games, if you're a fan of Nintendo, if you want to see a video game movie that's not straight trash. But there's so many, we were talking about it before, and this is spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into it. Check out the podcast for the spoiler discussion. But there is so many little Easter eggs and nods to the game, subtle stuff, doesn't hit you over the head with it. And then again, if you're a fan of the franchise, I was surprised at how many of my favorites, ones that I really like, just popped up, and I didn't expect them to. It was really cool.
Always keep your eyes open for the background, because they hide so many good ones.
And also great use of ones that are nobody's favorite. Psyduck. I mean, Psyduck might be somebody's favorite. Also, Lickitung.
Lickitung has a really good bit. Psyduck, I will say, as a kid, annoyed me to all ends. I couldn't deal with him. I didn't like him. I thought Golduck looked cooler.
Golduck does look cooler.
But Psyduck is used wonderfully in this movie, and I'm a big fan.
So out of 60.
Greninja also is pretty gross. Which I know that's a lot of people's favorite. Gross. For me, I'd give it 50 out of 60 if I'm trying to figure out the math from there, which is a B+. You guys can go ahead and call us out like you like to do in the comments down below. But yeah, I'd give this one a B+ because I think it checks off enough boxes for fans while also introducing regular audiences to a wonderful world, and also kind of giving them like a nudge, like, this is why we like these things. Like like you are able to see a battle, you're able to see some people catching Pokemon, you're like, this is fun. It feels like a magical world that we all wanted to be a part of, and now you do too, and you want to buy those plush toys. I want them so bad. I want them so unbelievably bad. My nephews have never played a Pokemon game before, and they want to go. They're very young.
But it's good for them that they get to go on this journey.
They are so excited. And I asked what their favorite Pokemon was, and they said Pikachu, and I was like, "You think you're going to battle with a Pikachu? Nah, really tough one." I'm sorry, I really reamed them for it. So if you guys like to make fun of your children, nephews, family members for picking dumb Pokemon, let us know in the comments down below. Also, let us know what other video game adaptations that you actually have a soft spot for in your little heart of hearts. And also make sure you go ahead and click up here, or maybe on the screen at this point, not sure where it is in the video, to go ahead and check out our deep dive into what it would be like to live with Pokemon. Guess what? It would suck most of the time. Half the time it would suck.
There's a few that it wouldn't. And it really is pertinent to this movie because they are 100% just living together.
Yes.
So it really applies to this movie. It's one of my favorite videos that we've done, so please go check that out.
Also, the animation's beautiful. And gang, make sure you go and check out patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. You can get content early. You can watch these videos live as we're making them. Guess what? We mess up a lot if you can't figure that out. All the little stumbles I have. It's pretty. We get into some goofs and gaffs, so you can go and enjoy that. Make sure you follow Might Be Social on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe so you can get videos all the time. There's multiple videos coming out a week, like Game of Thrones deep dives and more. We love you. DJ Talks Trash at Sam Basher, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Didn't say stay hydrated or anything.
You didn't. I'm proud of you.
Didn't do it.
I'm proud of you.
Didn't do it.